Look, if you played massively multiplayer online games 20 years ago, you remember that cold physical anxiety of standing in a dark forest halfway between Hunter's Village and Aiden, praying you don't run into a player who'd wiped out a week of progression in 5 seconds. You weren't thinking about daily quest markers or battle pass tiers, none of that. Or if you played Arcade, you remember carrying a high-value trade pack across the PvP zone, sweating bullets. Some player would walk out of the tree line, blow you up, and steal everything you spent all week farming. That raw friction, it wasn't a mistake. It was the entire foundation of classic games like Lineage 2 and Arcade. It was a design philosophy built on a simple truth. Real virtual societies are forged in a danger and mechanical hardship. For over a decade, we thought that era was dead, thought it was replaced forever by these brainless, theme park built to bubble wrap players and guaranteed a smooth, risk-free ride. But check this out. Recent activity from NCSoft has gotten the hardcore community talking again. Buried inside the official job listings, they are recruiting developers for something called Project NL, a next-gen PC MMO built on Unreal Engine 5. And the interesting part, the developers heading this up are veterans from the legacy Lineage and Lineage W teams under their next IP division. For guys who felt completely abandoned by modern gaming, this is being talked about as the real Lineage 3. It's a sliver of hope, sure, but it comes with a massive warning sign. Can modern tech actually bring back the hardcore sandbox? To see what Project NL actually has to do to survive, we need to look at the game that was supposed to save us, but ended up a massive pile of shit instead. Look, we have to talk about Throne of Liberty. When they first showed it off, old school players really hoped it would be the modern evolution of the classic sandbox. Instead, we got a brutal lesson in how corporate greed and mobile game garbage can completely eat away the soul of a hardcore franchise. The real failure of Throne of Liberty wasn't the graphics or the performance. No, the failure was that they completely deleted player-driven friction. See, in classic Lineage 2, the open world was genuinely terrifying because of the player kill and karma systems. You flagged by choice, you defended your farming spot with violence, and if you murdered some poor guy who couldn't fight back, your name turned red. A red player was a hunted animal. You were locked out of safe towns, and you ran the terrifying risk of dropping your actual gear if you died. That created a real organic check on player behavior. It let clan establish political dominance, but it came with a massive personal cost. Throne of Liberty completely gutted this system. There's zero unscripted open world PvP. None. Instead, fighting is strictly regulated by scheduled events in designated zones. If you want to fight, you have to wait for a timer to count down. It turns a living sandbox into a glorified lobby match. And when conflict is scheduled instead of organic, the world just stopped feeling like dangerous, untamed frontier. It feels fake. Also, death in Throne of Liberty has absolutely zero psychological weight. In classic Lineage, dying meant losing a massive chunk of XP. You could actually lose a level, which would disable your top tier skills and unequip your weapons on the spot. That hurt. In Throne of Liberty, death is just a minor annoyance. You pay a tiny fee of standard currency and instantly get your XP back. Simple as that. But without the fear of losing anything, there's no rush to surviving. There's no weight to winning. And the difference go way deeper than just the rules of engagement. It's built directly into the engine's DNA. Just look closely at the interface and the combat. You see the exact scars of its mobile game ancestry. During early test, the game had full auto combat and auto pathing. Those systems were designed for mobile phones, not active PC players. Amazon and NCSoft eventually stripped that out because of a massive player backlash, but the core world has already built around it. Static animations, stats like evasion to hide the latency, and the heavy reliance on quick parries, all remnant of a mobile-first philosophy. It's a Frankenstein engine, a mobile game they hastily retrofitted for PC and console players. The gameplay loop is basically automated at its core. It relies on daily chores and instant caps instead of real open-world agency. Look, this watering you down didn't just ruin the combat. It completely destroyed the community's social structure. Classic MMOs built legendary communities for one simple reason. They forced players to depend on each other. In Lineage 2, class specialization was absolute. No compromises. Sword Singer or Blade Dancer couldn't really solo grind for their life, but their specialized buffs were absolutely mandatory if a party wanted to survive. Dwarven Spoiler was the only class in the game that could extract rare materials from dead monsters, and the Warsmith was the only one who could physically craft them into a high tier gear. This forced people to talk, it built massive web of social contracts, and real mutual reliance. You knew the name of the top crafters on your server because they physically set up private manufacturing stalls right in the Giron's town square. You respected the support players. Why? Because without them, your progression came to a dead halt. Throne and Liberty completely flattened this ecosystem with the classes dual weapon system. When any player can swap roles instantly just by changing their weapons, actual need for teamwork is gone. Every player became completely self-sufficient. You could become a healer or damage dealer completely by yourself without needing anyone else. Crafting got reduced to a generic menu, chore, at the static NPC, entire economic identity of the merchant player dead. And to make things worse, direct player-to-player trading was completely disabled, supposedly to fight bot networks. That single choice completely severed guilds' ability to cooperate. You can't even hand a crafted sword to a guildmate who's struggling. Instead, they force all trade through a global anonymous auction house. And here's the most cynical part. This auction house doesn't even run on a standard gold. It runs exclusively on Lucent, a premium currency bought with real-world credit cards. This design creates a massive divide. Progression is directly tied to your credit card instead of coordination or raw time. Free-to-play players get reduced to virtual sweatshop workers, farming materials to sell to whales just to get the currency they need to progress. It's just a corporate paywall masquerading as a fantasy economy. So what's the blueprint for Project NL if they actually want to fix this? If NCSoft's new project is actually going to claim the legacy of Lineage 3, it has to reject the brainless comfort of modern theme parks, period. First, they have to bring back the genuine open world friction. Classic player kill and karma system have to return. Every zone outside of town needs to carry a real cost for getting lazy. Players need to feel that deep anxiety of losing their levels and their gear. That's what forces them to form tight alliances and respect borders. Second, the game has to reject this flat classes model. We need a return to rigid, highly specialized classes that force players to rely on each other, bring back dedicated buffers, restore the specialized dwarven economy to make a local trading matter again. Third, direct player-to-player trading is not optional. It has to be there. Guilds need to act as a real mutual aid groups, not just isolated trading accounts. And the entire economy has to run on a gold earned by actually playing the game, completely disconnected from a cash shop. Finally, progression needs to dump the daily checklists and instance caps. The real sandbox relies on infinite horizons. Let player dedication and clan coordination define who dominates the server, not some arbitrary daily timer. Look, NCSoft is standing at the massive crossroads with Project NL. They can build another safe, mobile cash grab that makes quick money and dies in 6 months. Or they can embrace the brutal friction and specialized classes of classic design built on a real player-driven economy. Honestly, it's a mix of genuine hope and serious skepticism. You have to ask, is this even possible for a modern big-budget studio to build something as punishing as classic Lineage 2 in today's market? Or are we just chasing a digital ghost at this point? The answer to that is going to define the fate of Project NL. It will show us if we are finally getting the real Lineage 3 we have waited 15 years for, or if it's all just copium. So, can Project NL actually bring back the hardcore sandbox we've been missing? NCSoft's job postings confirm the project is built on Unreal Engine 5, which adds its own massive package of performance problems, as we've seen in pretty much every other Unreal 5 release. But look, if the development team can actually stand up to a corporate pressure and avoid predatory monetization, Project NL might actually be a true successor, but the warning signs are right there. NCSoft has a long history of milking nostalgia to drive mobile monetization. If Project NL is built around daily chores and instance caps, backed by a premium cash economies, it's just going to be another watered down game that dies fast. Thanks for the time, see you in the next one, back to the grind.